NFL players are starting to speak out about Fernando Mendoza, and what they're saying isn't pretty. The #1 overall pick is already facing serious criticism, and some believe the flaws in his game are so significant that his NFL future could be in jeopardy before it even begins. And once you hear what they're saying, you'll understand why. Let's get into it. Former NFL scout Daniel Kelly didn't hold back when he went on X and wrote that the things coming out of Raiders OTAs make Mendoza sound like a joke and like some sort of raw developmental project, reporting that he was running mostly with the second and third team offenses after struggling with the ones. Let that sink in for a second. The #1 overall pick in the draft, the Heisman Trophy winner, the guy who went 16-0 and won a national championship at Indiana, running with the 2s and 3s, per Sam Warren of The Athletic. Mendoza did participate in second and third team offensive reps. Some of his passes were batted away and there were incompletions. And like every expert has flagged, he still needs work transitioning from shotgun to under center, a position he rarely played in college. That last part is where the conversation keeps landing. Under center. It sounds so simple. It's the most foundational thing a quarterback does in the NFL. And right now, it's a liability. ESPN's Dan Orlovsky went on record wondering whether former Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson might have more success at the next level than Mendoza. And one of the loudest critiques centered on Mendoza's lack of under-center snaps at Indiana, though he did attempt some of that work during IU's Pro Day. Then there's the anonymous ACC coach who really lit the fuse on this whole conversation. He's a good decision maker, but I don't think he's got the NFL traits. The coach told ESPN, they're all back shoulder throws. That's not working in the NFL. His receivers made plays to make him look better than he is. In the NFL, those throws are getting picked off. This coach didn't just pull that opinion from thin air. He had game planned against Mendoza when Mendoza was still the quarterback for the California Golden Bears before the Indiana transfer. So there's first-hand film study behind the criticism. Even among Raiders fans who support Mendoza, there's at least a little worry about his lack of under-center snaps and his heavy RPO usage at Indiana. And Kirk Cousins, the veteran who's supposed to be holding the bridge for Mendoza, he's not exactly selling the mentorship angle hard. Cousins said flat out that calling himself a mentor is a bit of a reach, probably more of a narrative than it is the truth, adding that they're pretty experienced players and he's learning from them too. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Cousins has made it known that whoever is the best quarterback on the roster should be the starter, whether that's Mendoza or himself. If that's not me, I don't want to be out there. Cousins said, I don't think that's the best thing for the team. If I am the best option, then I believe it's important that those guys are out there. So Cousins isn't just waiting around, he thinks he can win the job. And after watching Mendoza in OTAs, maybe the Raiders aren't so sure he's wrong. Head coach Clint Kubiak has expressed confidence in the veteran signal caller, saying, if you watched Kirk play his last 4 games in Atlanta, you saw what he could do. He's getting healthier. He's played really good football for us this time of year, and we're counting on him come the season. That's the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders publicly bigging up his veteran quarterback, the week after his #1 pick was reportedly taking reps with the backup offense. That's the situation Fernando Mendoza finds himself in right now. The #1 overall pick in the 2026 draft is expected to at least start the season on the bench behind Kirk Cousins. To understand why all of this is happening so fast, you have to go back to the pre-draft conversation, because the cracks were always there. People just weren't talking loud enough. Some in the league suggested that Mendoza is a good, not great prospect who wouldn't have been the first overall pick of the 2025, 2024, or 2023 NFL draft. Think about that. The #1 pick in 2026 wouldn't have gone first in any of the 3 prior classes. The college resume is not in question. Mendoza joins Joe Burrow and Cam Newton as the only players in the common draft era to win the Heisman Trophy and a national championship, and then get selected first overall in the ensuing draft. That's a 3-man club. The company is elite. He took home the Heisman Trophy, was named a consensus first-team AP All-American, won the Walter Camp Award, the Davey O'Brien Award, and the Maxwell Award. He was Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year and led the FBS in passing touchdowns with 41, completing 72% of his passes. He set Rose Bowl records against Alabama, threw 5 touchdowns on 17 of 20 passing, against Oregon in the semifinal, and scored on a 4th down 12-yard run in the 4th quarter to seal the championship win over Miami. Nobody is disputing the wins. Nobody is questioning the Heisman. But the NFL is a different world. The 2025 tape raised questions about improvisation compared to his Cal film, with scouts noting a lack of creativity under pressure. At Cal, Mendoza was playing outside the pocket, extending plays, operating RPOs, making things happen with his feet. At Indiana, Curt Cignetti kept him locked in the pocket, running a clean and efficient offense. The results were historic, but the tape showed a quarterback who hadn't been challenged to improvise in the way the NFL demands. The Joe Burrow comparisons are obvious and have been made repeatedly. Like Burrow, Mendoza is at his best in the pocket and seems to level up once defenses rough him up. That's an appealing trait. But there's another side to those comparisons. Burrow was an instant starter in Cincinnati and faced defenses that broke him early. Mendoza is walking into a Las Vegas organization where he might not see the field at all in week 1. One of the critiques around him is the lack of under-center snaps at Indiana, though he did attempt that during IU's Pro Day. Indiana's coach Curt Cignetti, speaking with NFL Network, expressed confidence that Mendoza's skill set will translate. Cignetti pushed back on the criticism with, "People gotta have something, right? There's a lot of time between the last game of the season and the draft. People will come up with anything. He's going to go in there and learn the system, learn the footwork, repetitions, and other learning. You learn the most from the games. He's going to be just fine." But Cignetti is the college coach who recruited him, ran an offense perfectly designed around his strengths, and went 16-0. Of course, he believes in Mendoza. The question is whether the NFL coaches and scouts watching him live every day at OTAs believe the same thing. Some of the criticisms of his game are not founded in any real reason, like his supposed inability to move, or the idea that he was simply a product of the talented players around him at Indiana. Both of those take a lazy read of the tape. But the under-center issue, the RPO-heavy system, those are legitimate, and they're showing up in practice right now. And while Mendoza is grinding through growing pains on the field, there's something else going on in the background that has the entire league watching. The number 1 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft still hasn't signed his rookie contract. As of the writing of this script, only 2 of the 32 first-round picks from the 2026 draft remain unsigned. They are the only 2 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Most notably, Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner, has yet to put pen to paper. This isn't a holdout in the traditional sense. There are no screaming agents at a podium, no players skipping minicamp. Mendoza has been a full participant in mandatory minicamp, despite not having signed his contract. He's showing up, he's working, but the deal isn't done. The most likely explanation has to do with the difference between how teams typically pay signing bonuses and the recent trend specifically for first overall picks, where lump sum signing bonus payments have become customary. The last time a first overall pick didn't receive his signing bonus in a single payment was Kyler Murray with the Arizona Cardinals back in 2019. Every number 1 pick since then got the whole check up front. Mendoza's camp expects the same treatment. The Raiders, though, have a different habit. As CBS Sports analyst Joel Corey explained, the Raiders haven't been paying first-round signing bonuses in a lump sum. The payment schedule for their previous 3 first-round picks was 77.5% within 15 days of signing, 12.5% in mid-September, and the final 10% in mid-October. That's not the deal Mendoza's camp is looking for. The Raiders will have a hard time justifying their standard payment schedule to Mendoza if the quarterback, selected 12 slots later, receives his signing bonus in a lump sum and without offsets. That quarterback is Ty Simpson, the 13th overall pick going to the Los Angeles Rams, and how the Rams handle that deal will almost certainly dictate what happens with Mendoza. As Corey put it on the Locked On Raiders podcast, ever since starting in 2020 with Joe Burrow, the first overall pick has gotten a signing bonus in a lump sum. So the precedent is crystal clear, but the Raiders are pushing against it now. The dollar amounts involved aren't the mega numbers you'd imagine for a contract dispute of this profile. The Raiders have essentially already lost the high ground if everyone from last year received a lump sum, and by some calculations, the payment timing dispute is over roughly 22.5% delayed for about 3 months. It's a principal argument more than a genuine financial one. But in the NFL, principal arguments between player and team rarely stay quiet. Corey openly wonders whether Mendoza would consider a holdout if the Raiders play hardball. Though at this point there have been no whispers of real discontent coming from the Mendoza camp. The problem, every day this drags out. the optics for Mendoza get worse. He's unsigned, running with the backup offense, and the ex-NFL scout posting on X is calling him a joke. The story writes itself, even if the reality is more complicated. People aren't completely panicking yet. It's not like Las Vegas is dealing with a Jamarcus Russell situation, but the fan base wants pen-hitting paper, and they want it now. Here's the thing about Fernando Mendoza. Nothing about his path to this moment was handed to him. And that's exactly why every piece of skepticism lands harder. He was a lightly recruited quarterback out of Christopher Columbus High School in Miami, who originally committed to Yale before flipping to California. He redshirted his first year at Cal, took over midway through his redshirt freshman season, with 708 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions across 8 starts, then improved as a sophomore to 34 yards and 16 touchdowns, with a completion rate that made him Cal's all-time leader in that category. Yale, not Alabama, not Ohio State, Yale. That's where Fernando Mendoza's college recruitment started. He first committed to Yale in the summer of 2021, before eventually flipping to Cal in 2022. He was born in Boston, Massachusetts, while his father was completing his medical residency. His family is of Cuban descent. All 4 of his grandparents were born and raised in Cuba before emigrating to Miami following the Cuban Revolution. Football, for this family, wasn't a birthright. It was chosen, it was built. In 2025, Mendoza graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration from Berkeley's Haas School of Business, while quarterbacking a Division I program and preparing for the transfer portal. At the NFL Scouting Combine, he turned heads not just with his arm talent, but by confidently discussing his knowledge of finance during downtime. Off the field, he's passionate about leveraging his background in business, real estate, and finance, and he recently launched the Mendoza Family Fund in partnership with the National Multiple Sclerosis Society to support individuals and families affected by MS, a cause deeply personal to him. Then came the transfer to Indiana. When Curt Cignetti came calling, Mendoza followed his younger brother Alberto to Bloomington and produced one of the greatest single seasons in college football history. He generated 335 passing yards with a 41-6 TD-int ratio, rushed for 7 scores, and helped cap an undefeated season with a championship win. Since 2024, he'd thrown 39 touchdowns with 0 interceptions in the red zone, per Pro Football Focus. 0 in the red zone. That's not a system quarterback, that's a decision maker. Growing up, Mendoza idolized Tom Brady, and now, in one of the more surreal twists of modern NFL history, Brady is a minority owner of the very franchise that drafted him. Mendoza has been sharing the advice that Brady has lent him in the first 2 months of his Raiders tenure, and what Brady reportedly told him cut straight to the point. You need to be the toughest, both mentally and physically. You've got to embody all these things and lead by example before gaining that equity and respect from your teammates. In order to lead effectively, equity, respect, you earn those things. You don't get them handed over because of a Heisman Trophy. Mendoza even turned down a chance to visit the White House with his Indiana teammates to celebrate their national championship because he didn't want to miss any practice with the Raiders. He chose reps over ceremony, and when the league forced him to attend the NFLPA Rookie Premiere event, he told reporters flat out, "I'd rather be practicing right now. And I was really upset about actually having to miss practice for this. Although it's great, that's not the behavior of a quarterback who doesn't care. That's someone clawing for every inch. But in the NFL, effort only carries you so far. The film has to do the talking eventually." So here's where everything lands. Fernando Mendoza is unsigned, running backup reps, absorbing public criticism from scouts and coaches, and competing against a 38-year-old veteran who refuses to see himself as a placeholder. And training camp hasn't even started yet. Mendoza becomes the 5th Heisman Trophy winner to be drafted by the Raiders organization, joining Marcus Allen, Bo Jackson, Tim Brown, and Charles Woodson. That's a list of legends. Every one of those names went on to have Hall of Fame or All-Pro careers. The pressure to match that legacy is enormous. Raiders head coach Clint Kubiak and general manager John Spytek have publicly stated all the confidence in the world that Mendoza is the right player to lead the franchise, and Kubiak has said Mendoza's skill set can fit any offensive system in the league. but the coaching staff's confidence and the reality in OTA reps aren't telling the same story right now. Some scouts expected Mendoza to be a Week 1 starting quarterback in the NFL for the 2026 season. That's looking increasingly unlikely things. In the words of one NFL analyst, aren't sounding too good for Fernando Mendoza, with concerns raised over reported offseason struggles. And then there's the Raiders franchise itself, an organization with a complicated history at the quarterback position. After the Raiders took Jamarcus Russell first overall in 2007, owner Mark Davis was hoping this pick would work out much better. That reference point never leaves the room. Russell is the ghost hanging over every quarterback the Raiders have ever taken. A Hall of Fame first overall bust who set the franchise back years. Nobody is saying Mendoza is Russell. That comparison is lazy and unfair. The character, preparation, and football intelligence are night and day. He has all the size and physical traits of a franchise quarterback and a squeaky clean off-field record that teams are hoping for from their franchise investment. But the ghost still gets invoked. The shadow still falls. What the Raiders need from Mendoza isn't perfection in June. They need growth. They need him to master the under-center operation, clean up the back-shoulder dependency, and prove to the coaching staff that he's ready to be the one. Mendoza has already reached out to former NFL quarterback Brian Grease to learn under-center concepts he'll be using in Kubiak's offense. Grease having played in Denver when Kubiak's father Gary was the offensive coordinator there. That's the kind of self-awareness that matters. His floor, per scouting reports, is a competent starter who protects the football and manages games efficiently. His ceiling is a Super Bowl quarterback who masters the mental side of the position and makes his supporting cast look better than they are. The distance between that floor and that ceiling is where the entire Fernando Mendoza story lives right now. The debate around his evaluation has been heating up for months, ever since comments from longtime NFL analyst Greg Cosell about Mendoza resurfaced online and unexpectedly sparked a response from the family of elite quarterback recruit Julian Lewis. Even in the circles of next-generation prospects, Mendoza's ceiling is being questioned. At the Combine, Mendoza was asked about the biggest misconception people have about him. He said, "I didn't have social media during the season, so the media painted a picture about me that was maybe a little different than my true personality." He knows the image people have constructed of him, the polished, robotic, perfectly media-trained franchise quarterback. He acknowledged that his communication style has led people to call him ChatGPT, but pushed back, saying he's been able to connect with his teammates really well, and it's not like that at all. So there's a human being underneath the hype. A kid from a Cuban-American family in Miami who committed to Yale, ground his way to California, transferred to Indiana, won every award imaginable, and walked into a Raiders facility with the weight of a franchise on his shoulders before he'd thrown a single NFL pass. After day 2 of rookie minicamp, one thing became increasingly clear. Mendoza is just one of the guys with a quirky and endearing sense of humor, quickly picked up on by his teammates. The locker room likes him. The coaches believe in him. Tom Brady is in his ear. But the scoreboard doesn't care about any of that. Neither does Kirk Cousins, who is competing for the same job with a veteran's quiet hunger. The real question isn't whether Fernando Mendoza has what it takes. The question is whether the Raiders are willing to let him find it on the fly, unsigned, under pressure, and fighting an uphill battle against every doubt the league has thrown at him since draft night. If they rush him, they risk breaking him. If they hold him back too long, they risk losing him to hesitation. It's the tightest of tightropes, and every single week between now and the season opener, the noise is only going to get louder. Some NFL evaluators called Mendoza a good, not great prospect who wouldn't have gone first overall in prior classes. Fernando Mendoza joins Joe Burrow and Cam Newton as the only players in the common era to win the Heisman National Championship and be picked first overall. Mendoza generated 3,535 passing yards with a 41-6 TD-int ratio at Indiana. Former NFL scout Daniel Kelly said things out of Raiders OTAs make Mendoza sound like a joke and some sort of raw developmental project. Mendoza was running with the 2s and 3 seconds and still learning under center snaps, per The Athletic's Sam Warren. Anonymous ACC coach told ESPN Mendoza's back Shoulder throws are getting picked off in the NFL. Kirk Cousins says calling himself a mentor is a bit of a reach, and is learning from the rookies too. Tom Brady advised Mendoza to be the toughest mentally and physically and earn respect before leading. Coach Clint Kubiak expressed confidence in Kirk Cousins heading into the 2026 season. Fernando Mendoza remains unsigned from the 2026 class, along with Ty Simpson and 2 other Raiders rookies. The sticking point is the Raiders' payment schedule for Mendoza's signing bonus versus the lump sum trend for first overall picks. The last time a number 1 pick didn't get a lump sum signing bonus was Kyler Murray in 2019. Joel Corey on Locked On Raiders, ever since starting in 2020 with Joe Burrow, the first overall pick, has gotten a signing bonus in a lump sum. Mendoza was a full participant in mandatory minicamp despite not having signed. Curt Cignetti defended Mendoza to NFL Network, saying he's going to be just fine. Mendoza turned down a White House visit to stay in Raiders practice. Mendoza told reporters he was really upset about being forced to miss practice for the NFLPA rookie premiere. Mendoza launched the Mendoza Family Fund in partnership with the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. Mendoza became the 5th Heisman Trophy winner drafted by the Raiders, joining Allen, Jackson Brown, and Woodson. Mendoza had 39 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in the red zone since 2024, per Pro Football Focus. After rookie minicamp day 2, teammates had picked up on Mendoza's quirky sense of humor. Mendoza addressed the ChatGPT perception of him at the Combine, saying he connects with teammates well in real life. Mendoza reached out to Brian Grease to learn under-center concepts for Kubiak's offense. His floor is a competent, game-managing starter. His ceiling is a Super Bowl quarterback. Mark Davis was hoping this pick would work out better than Jamarcus Russell. https://www.nfl.com/Fernando Mendoza